Welcome to the Child Safe Standards Training for all staff personnel. This session is run by Kaizen Synergy Law Firm, and my name is Nihal, Samara. I'm the General Counsel and Legal Director here at Kaizen Synergy Law Firm, and I'd like to welcome you all to this training session. While this training session is run by webinar and recorded, we do pay respects to the traditional owners accordingly. We also acknowledge the work of the department and respect in providing these materials, which this is based on. We have added to these to cover some of the extended legal compliance obligations that community service organisations and staff personnel do need to be aware about. If you have any questions, then we do direct you to your agency leadership team. And also you can reach directly out to our law firm, either by phone on 1300 360 360, email us at support@gemba360.com, or you can go to our online chat support at gemba360.com and receive advice about any of this training. There is also external services, as the department and respect have also provided to you in regards to these slides as well, and these are listed here. But we do direct you to your agency's leadership team in the first instance. This presentation covers off specifically the obligations for all staff personnel. This includes staff that are employed part-time, full-time, casual employees, as well as agency staff that are in leadership roles, including executive managers, and also people that work directly with children as well. So in this presentation, we will cover off the overview of the child safe standards. We will look at the overview of each child safe standard and what this means from possible consequences of non-compliance and what it means to you in your role. We will also look at your agency's child safe policies and procedures and staff responsibilities as well too. And you can see that we're going to cover off not only the policies and code of conduct and risk registers, but also what to do in responding to incidents, disclosures, and suspicions of child abuse, as well as some of the documentation around information sharing and record keeping as well. So let's have firstly an overview of the child safe standards and what does this mean? What does this cover? Well, let's have a look at the definition first. Child safety includes matters relating to protecting all children from child abuse, managing the risk of child abuse, providing support to a child at risk of child abuse, and responding to suspicions, incidents, disclosures, or allegations of child abuse as well. Child abuse itself includes any act committed against a child involving sexual offense and or grooming, as well as the infliction on a child of physical violence, serious emotional or psychological harm, and the serious neglect of a child. Now, the Child Safe Standards has a fairly substantive history. In 2012 to 2013, there was the Betrayal of Trust Inquiry. This led into the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Abuse. In 2016, saw the original Child Safe Standards implemented in Victoria. 2019 saw the Victorian that agreed to adopt the National Principles for Child Safe Organisations. And then in 2021, we saw Victoria adopt new child safe standards aligned with national principles. And now at the 1st of July 2022, we see the new child safe standards commence. But what does this mean and why are these so important? Well, child safe standards recognize that all children are vulnerable. It is important to be aware that community service organizations need to take steps to prevent child abuse and build a culture of safety. It is important to know that your agency cannot simply assume that child abuse does not and cannot happen within their agency or agency community. So why are child safe standards so important? Well, child safe standards aim to do three things: promote the safety of children, prevent child abuse, and ensure effective processes are in place to respond to and report all allegations of child abuse. The child safe standards work by trying to drive a changes in culture, embedding child safety in everyday thinking and practice, providing a minimum standard of child safety, and highlighting that we all have a role in keeping children safe from abuse. Now, what's the difference? Well, on the 1st of July, new child safe standards were introduced in 2022. New requirements to keep children safe are involvement of families and children in child safety efforts, community service organisations that focus on Aboriginal children and safety, ensure better management of the child abuse online environments, and also on governance systems and processes to keeping children safe. This was made under the Ministerial Order 1359, which provides the framework for implementing child safe standards in community organisations. So there is actually a ministerial order that governs what is actually required. Now, there are 11 child safe standards that your agency needs to be aware about and demonstrate how it actually meets these requirements. So let's have a look at the overview of each child safe standards and what it means to your agency. Well, Child Safe Standard 1 covers cultural safe environments, and community service organisations must establish a cultural safe environment in which the diverse and unique identities and experience of Aboriginal children, young people and children are respected and valued. And community service organisations need to address all forms of racism and consider attitudes and practices that are a barrier to providing a cultural safe environment and addressing all forms of racism. Child Safe Standard 2 ensures child safety and well-being is embedded in leadership, governance and culture. This means that agencies and governing authorities have a vital role in establishing a culture where child abuse and harm is not tolerated. And there is separate training for committees of management and board members around their obligations of what they need to do. Effective systems and processes to implement child safe policies and practices and manage child abuse risks as well. And you do have an incident reporting system in GEMBA that allows you to report incidents and hazard identification. And this goes towards ensuring a safe and well-being environment is embedded in the leadership and governance culture. And by you using things like the incident reporting allows the leadership and governance to manage issues if and when they arise as well. Child Safe Standard 3 talks about child empowerment. Now, community service organisations must ensure that children, young people, and are empowered about their rights, participate in decisions affecting them, and are taken seriously. And supporting children to raise concerns about the safety or well-being of their friends to encourage children to support their peers is also important as well too. Child Safe Standard 4 talks about family engagement. So community service organisations must ensure that families and communities are informed and involved in promoting child safety and well-being. And this means providing accessible and inclusive child safe information by encouraging families to engage in child safety and well-being discussions. Child Safe Standard 5 talks about diversity and equity, and community service organisations must ensure that equity is upheld and diverse needs respected in policy and practice. It's important to be aware that such negative experience like exclusion and discrimination can be harmful. They increase the risk of harm and abuse to a child and decrease the likelihood of them telling someone and receiving an effective response. Child Safe Standard 6 talks about suitable staff and volunteers. So what does this mean? Well, community service organisations must ensure that people working with children and young people are suitable and supported to reflect child safety and well-being values in practice. This means that good recruitment practices around creating a safer workplace, reducing the opportunity for harm to occur, preventing, screening out and deterring people who are unsuitable to work or volunteer with children, and recruit staff who uphold the agency values. And this does involve rigorous selection processes, appropriate induction training, like what you're having now, and supervision helps staff and children to be kept safe. Child Safe Standard 7 talks about the complaints process, and community service organisations must ensure that processes for complaints and concerns are child focused. This means that making a complaint can be challenging and it is acknowledged at times. However, complaints are more likely to be raised when there are clear, well documented policies and procedures for concern and that there is a complaints handling process. And you do have a complaints handling form on your Gemba 360 dashboard that allows you to provide feedback and complaints. And this can provide the process that allows you to report complaints if and when they arise, and also the leadership group to appropriately manage complaints as well too. Child Safe Standard 7 talks about child safety knowledge, skills and awareness. Now, community service organisations must ensure that staff and volunteers are equipped with the knowledge, skills and awareness to keep children and young people safe through ongoing education and training. And this includes this training session. So there is the tailored training to all staff and volunteers, and the volunteers have a separate training session that they can attend as well too. And everyone will share an understanding of what child safety means, like what we're going through this training session and providing to you, the importance of child safety and what to look for as well too. Child safety in physical and online environments is covered under Child Safe Standard 9. Here, community service organisations must ensure that physical and online environments promote safety and well-being while minimising the opportunity for children, young people and children not to be harmed. This allows for risk analysis is the first thing that community service organisations should do to promote child safety. And your organisation already has an active organisational risk register in place. It is something that is managed by the leadership team and also by the board governance committee as well too. And there is effective risk analysis that does consider all of the child safety standards and risks in physical and, where appropriate, online environments and procurement as well too. Child Safe Standard 10 talks about review of child safety practices. It covers community service organisations which must ensure that implementation of the Child Safe Standard is regularly and reviewed and improved upon. And this forms part of the general policy review process within your agency as well. Child Safe Standard 11 talks about the implementation of child safe practices. And this ensures that your community service organisation has policies and procedures that document how it provides safety for children, young people, and also the agency community as well too. Now, there are possible consequences for not complying with the child safe standards. This does include greater risk of child abuse, unsafe agency culture, non-compliance that is identified during an agency review, regulatory action that can be taken against your agency, and investigations by the Commission for Children and Young People, as well as breach of duty of care, as well as organisational breach of duty of care, failure to report and failure to stop offences, as well as legal action such as negligence claims and loss of reputation for keeping children safe. So there is actually quite significant consequences for not complying with the child safe standards. So let's go through your agency's child safety policies, procedures, and staff responsibilities. Well, your agency has child safety policies and procedures. These include the Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy, Child Safety Code of Conduct, Child Safety Risk Register, as well as Child Safety Policy and Procedure Guidelines. And these are all built upon the department's own policies for child safety within your agency. And there are reference documents as well as example procurements that we have reviewed as part of this process to support your agency. And these documents are readily available to you. So let's summarize what these means. Well, the child safety policy demonstrates your commitment to providing safe environments for children and how to keep them safe and make them feel safe. Tells your community about strategies and governance to help keep children safe, and creates a shared commitment to keeping children safe and feeling safe within your agency. This supports everyone in your agency community to know their responsibilities for keeping children safe and is publicly available. What does your policy say about your agency's commitment to child safety? Well, as part of this, it identifies that we are a child safe organization which welcomes all children, young people, and their families. It demonstrates that you are committed to providing environments where our children are safe and feel safe, where their participation is valued, their views are respected, their voices are heard about decisions that affect their lives, and that there is no tolerance for child abuse, and that your agency takes a proactive steps to identify and manage any risks of harm to children in your agency's environment. And also that every person involved in your agency has an important role in promoting child safety and well-being and promptly raising any issues or concerns about child safety. There is also the established cultural safety environments and responding to diverse needs. It shows that your agency can support every child to have a positive outcome and a positive experience in a safe environment. It includes supporting Aboriginal and cultural safety and acknowledging Aboriginal cultural and safety, and identifying and understanding the diverse circumstances of children and their carers as well too, and families. That everyone can promote cultural safety in your agency and pay particular attention to children with disability, children from cultural, linguistically diverse backgrounds, children who are unable to live at home, international children, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and gender diverse, intersex, and queer, as well as the LGBTIQ plus children and Aboriginal children as well too. Your Child Safety Code of Conduct provides adults with a clear guide on the behavior that is expected from you in your agency's environments. Well, who has to follow this? Well, all staff, volunteers, contractors, and any other member of your agency community involved in child connected work, including agency board members and committees as well. Now, let's be quite clear that there are acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, and these are listed here. Acceptable behaviors is on the left-hand side of the screen, and unacceptable behavior list is on the right. And it's important that you take the time just to look through and understand what these mean and ensure that you do follow these directly of what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. And this is listed within your policy documentation as well too. There is a child safety risk register. Now, this is managed on the GEMBA 360 risk register and incident reporting form. Your agency has developed a child safety risk register, and we have considered the risk for each of the child safe standards and have developed and recorded your risk and controls. And we have also looked at the risk causes and consequences. And these have been reviewed by your agency leadership team and also CEO as well too. If we look at the incident reporting form, well, this can be seen. You may see this as the incident button on here, which is just a demo of the GEMBA dashboard, or it may be listed actually under the incident form on the left-hand side of the toolbar as well too. Your risk register has a risk register button, and this is where the organizational wide risks appear. This is not open to everyone, as it is open to the leadership team and also board, committee level, and governance committee personnel. If you do have any questions, then you can use our chat group on the left-hand side, and we will respond to you immediately when you do raise a chat question. So child safety risk registers and incident reporting is managed on your GEMBA 360 dashboard. Your complaints policy provides an outline of your agency's complaints process. It involves children, parents, and members of the community, how they can raise complaints or concerns about issues arising at your agency. Complaints and concerns relating to child abuse will be managed in accordance with your agency's child safe procedures and responsibility obligations as well. Now, your role in responding to incidents, disclosures, and suspicions of child abuse. It is important that you must not ignore or disregard any concerns, suspicions, or disclosures of child abuse or harm. You have an important role to protect any child under your care and supervision from reasonably foreseeable harm. As a staff member, you have a critical role in protecting children and must meet a range of legal obligations to identify, respond, and report child abuse as well. This includes abuse that has or is suspected to have taken place within or outside your agency's grounds or hours as well. Now, there are 4 critical actions for community service organisations. These include as follows. 1, respond to the emergency. 2, report to authorities, and this may include your agency leadership team in the first instance. Respond to parents or carers and contact them accordingly and provide support. Now, your agency does have an agency executive leadership group that can manage this process. So, reporting to your authority, firstly, in terms of your agency leadership group, is important. If you are in one of the leadership roles, then you will need to take the steps to essentially contact parents or carers in accordance with your child wellbeing policy guidelines, and also provide support, importantly, to children impacted by child abuse itself as well. Staff training and e-learning is about protecting children, and all staff are required to complete the mandatory reporting and other obligations, and this is part of the training that you have. The training is available on your Gemba 360 legal compliance dashboard, and agency staff who are mandatory reporters must complete the module at least once per calendar year. Non-mandatory reporters are strongly encouraged to complete the module once each calendar year. And when we say strongly encouraged, it is part of your obligations to meet your agency's child wellbeing policy as well. It's important you look for signs of child abuse and be aware about these. Now, children and young people can be harmed by other children. Child abuse can include physical abuse, sexual abuse, grooming, serious emotional or psychological harm, neglect, or family violence. It doesn't have to involve physical contact or force, and child abuse can include talking to a child in a sexually explicit way, grooming a child for future sexual activity, experiencing family violence, or failing to provide a child with adequate standard of nutrition, supervision, or medical care. There are some information sharing obligations that your agency must follow. These are included as part of your privacy and information sharing policy. Equally, there is also record keeping obligations for community service organisations. And again, this is listed within your policy requirement. But it is important to note that information is always recorded and staff must create full and accurate records. Community service organisations must keep all records relating to child safety, health and well-being, and these records must not be disposed of or destroyed. Empowering children and families to express their views and raise concerns is a priority. There are agency policies and agency practices which you are expected to follow, and these include identifying ways to involve children, families, and community members in reviews and child safety policies and procedures. And this is something that your agency does do actively in accordance with its policy guidelines. There are key things to remember. Child safety and well-being at your agency is everyone's responsibility. And your agency, as part of your being an agency staff member, have a responsibility to always follow your agency's child safety and well-being policies and procedures. If you do have any questions around these, then we do suggest that you do reach out to your agency leadership team. Equally, you can also contact our law firm by contacting Kaizen Synergy Law Firm, either on our phone number on 1300 360 360, emailing us at support@gemba360.com, or using our online chat support. In the event that you do this, we will reach back to the relevant agency leadership team member or your CEO as well too. Thank you for joining us to cover off your child safety training standards. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.